Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach and author of Food Truck 101, Beginner to Winner. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Today's topic is going to be one that's going to be important to everybody because we all are experiencing this, whether we have a food truck in operation, we have a hot dog cart in operation, or we're just dreaming about it. And that is the supply shortage that we're all facing. When you go to the grocery store just to buy food for your family, I'm sure some of the products you normally buy aren't in stock as much as they were and maybe even out of stock. So we're going to talk about this over the course of the next 2 days, things that you can do to help survive and get through the shortages that I think we're going to continue to see for a while. Plus, I'm also going to explain why we're seeing them, because it's not just one or two reasons. There's multiple reasons why we're seeing it. That's why it's going to take some time to get through them all. We all know that the supply chain has struggled since the beginning of the pandemic. We all have seen it, and you guys really just need to be prepared for probably another bumpy year, maybe even another 18 months of it. Stockpiling inventory makes sense for some products. Obviously, all your paper goods, all your cleaning supplies, all the hardline things that you need for your business and even for your home, you can store those. Perishable goods, on the other hand, not so much. But you can do some things to help yourself even with some food items. Over the last 2 years, the food industry leadership has just really been learning from trial and error. We have not seen this kind of shortfall in labor and shortfall in just production ever. We've seen it from product to product. We've seen crop failures and that type of thing that impacts one particular food product or a segment of a food product. But we've never seen it across everything. So everybody is scrambling to learn, and as we can see, some of them aren't learning fast enough to keep up with the demand for supplies. So moving forward, you can expect things to stabilize slightly. But you got to understand, and this is going to be very important to you, there's going to be localized shortages that impact your ability to serve your guests and to obtain the exact food that you want. Now understand that's localized. Some cities may not experience any kind of problem at all. Other cities are going to have problems, and you're not going to be sure of the reason why or when, but you need to be prepared for them. We're going to talk about why we're in the situation we're in and how it can continue to impact you locally. One of the biggest things that comes to mind is we all have heard about the transport and driver shortage, and that's something that's just going to continue. Most people don't realize that the average age of an over-the-road truck driver is roughly between 45 to 60, depending upon what source you read. Folks that are getting in their upper 50s, early 60s, they're thinking about retiring. And given the work hours that some of them are having to put in, just given the difficulties of picking up a product and then transporting it, they're probably going to opt for retirement. The second thing you need to think about or understand is a lot of the major companies experience as much as 90% turnover. That's a ridiculous amount of people in a revolving door situation. You hire one, somebody else quits. You hire one, somebody else quits. 90% is a crazy turnover. So given that amount of turnover and all the drivers that are accelerating their retirement plans, and there's going to be a lot of logistical issues just getting food and beverages from point A to point B, you're going to see significant delays and disruptions. So be prepared for it. Understand where your food's coming from so that you can work around that. Some of the things you can do to help yourself out will be to source your food locally, so it's not having to be shipped from one state to your state. You need to consider local farms, local butchers, local bakeries, small businesses that are just like you that are looking to survive and get past this little economic hiccup that we're having right now. So source locally as much as you can. Talk to those people. They would love to have business locked in. If you can commit to ordering 100 dozen buns a week, I'm sure that baker is going to be thrilled knowing that they have at least one locked in client or another locked in client. See if you can lock in a contract rate. You can go up to a farmer that is doing produce, for instance, and commit to buying a certain pound in weight of whatever products you carry or however they package them. You can commit to a certain number of dozens of eggs. You can commit to a certain tonnage if you're that high a volume. I'll buy a ton of corn from you this year, that type of thing. A ton of potatoes. So you want to be looking at how can you get your food locally so it's not having to go through the trucking industry, so to speak. And there are local producers as well, warehouse stores, chain stores, small distributors, chefs, and restaurant stores. All of them depend on stuff being trucked in. So as much as possible, try to avoid them. You are going to have to get certain products from those places, but as much as possible, buy locally. And I'm going to suggest that you take the bull by the horns, and if you need to, shop every single day until you can build up the inventory levels that you're looking for, so you're not having to shop every single day, and you can sell the products you want to sell, not the ones you have to sell because there's nothing else available. Another thing you can do would be to combine the purchasing power of you with some other trucks or other restaurants, the smaller restaurants. When you combine your purchasing power, then you can commit to buying that 1 ton of potatoes or that 1 ton of beef. And then you guys just split the cost amongst yourselves. That'll help to bring down the overall cost compared to what you are buying from a farm that's 3 states over, that's having to put all their meat onto a truck and then ship it into your state. So look for ways for you to do things locally as much as possible. I'll give you an example. I know of one person that's driving 3 hours each way to pick up several hundred pounds of meat because he's able to get it for half of what it would cost to have it delivered to him. So what he's done is he's talked to a lot of other food trucks and restaurants and say, hey, I'm headed up to Chicago. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of meat. Would you like in on this savings? So he's able to charge them a little tiny fee, which helps to cover his time and his gasoline. But all of the businesses are saving money over having the food ordered from Chicago and then shipped to them. So think outside of the box. Number 2, understand that worker shortages are going to decline, meaning that most businesses will start to get their employee level back to where they want. But the problem is people are changing their careers. They're getting into completely different fields. And that means that some of the people that would have been out picking all the fruits and vegetables and dealing with the cattle and feeding them and that type of thing are not going back to those jobs. They're going into other industries. They're going into completely different jobs. Just look at the number of people getting into our industry. So that means there's a whole bunch more competition, all competing for the same products that you are. Food trucks need to embrace labor-saving technology because you're not going to be able to hire people either if the fast food restaurants who have the ability to pay people sign-on bonuses and perhaps offer insurance and that type of thing, they're not able to get fully staffed. It's going to be more difficult for you as well. So you're going to have to bring yourself out of the Stone Age. You're going to have to get labor-saving technology. You can't handwrite tickets. I know it's the most popular thing to show that spindle with 150 tickets on it. What I look at when I see that spindle is every ticket is 15 seconds. And I start to look through that spindle and count the number of tickets times 15 seconds. That's the number of minutes you've wasted handwriting something. And then physically turning around and hanging it on a ticket rail. All of that is time that's wasted. That's an employee doing something that can be done by a POS system. That can be done automatically. If you're able to get an app or a website to where people can place their orders online, you have less need of a cashier. And the cashier can do other cooking duties and can do other things to help move the food out of the trailer, out of the food truck. Dunkin' Donuts, for instance, just started a digital-only unit, meaning that they have no cashiers. If you want to order from this particular unit, you have to do it online. And then you can go into the unit or go through the drive-thru, pick up the food, or go inside and pick it up. So it takes away that one position. There are things you can do to work around labor shortages. Number 3, U.S. government is going to be a strong partner in improving the supply chain. In June of this year, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced a $4 billion investment in the food supply chain, which is awesome, but it takes time for it to trickle down through the system. This $4 billion investment is designed to support food production, improve processing, and it's an investment in the distribution and marketing. But still, it has to come from the farm or the cattle producer to you. Now, there's also a $100 million loan guarantee program that's paid for through the American Rescue Plan Act. It's the thing that Congress passed not too long ago. So companies in the food industry should start to see some of these benefits, but it's going to take well into next year for that money to trickle down. These loans will allow the meat and poultry companies to improve their processing, to improve the food supply chain infrastructure, to expand their cold storage, and in addition to financing just improvements in the supply chain technology and infrastructure. So there's help on the way, but that doesn't help you today. And if the supply chain doesn't improve rapidly next year, you can expect the government to throw more money at it. But that doesn't help the little business, the small business. So my warning to you, even though the government's trying to do something, do not wait on them. Take control of your own destiny. Consider increasing your own storage capacity, both for refrigerated and frozen goods. Price volatility is a part of life, so it's something you just need to prepare for and adjust your menu accordingly. You can't sit back and wait on things to happen. You have to take responsibility for your own business. Here's an example. In 2004, shortening doubled in price, and it left a lot of us that were having to deal with that really annoyed, because what happened was the countries that produced the vegetables to create the vegetable oil had crop failures and other issues. So all of a sudden, our shortening goes from a nice reasonable amount all the way to double overnight, essentially. And those of us that worked on a budget, we couldn't meet the budget. But what it did force us to do is figure out ways to better take care of the shortening, to better filter the shortening, and learn how to stretch those dollars so that we could still serve a great quality product and be able to afford that bump in these shortening prices. It happens. People that have been doing this a while, they have dealt with sugar issues. When sugar went up, that makes soda go up. When we have vegetable problems in crop productions, we have an increase in shortening. When there's a shortfall in the crops in Colombia, for instance, for coffee goes through the roof. Whenever there's issues with mad cow disease, beef goes through the roof. Those things happen. Just get used to them, figure out how you need to respond to them. Number 4 is mastering your own supply chain. That's going to become an even bigger competitive advantage over anybody that doesn't pay attention into six-packs and whines about, oh my gosh, shortening costs so much, what am I going to do? Get over it. You know what the price is. Figure out how it's going to impact your business and either raise prices or figure out how you're going to stretch those dollars in another way. Having an efficient and well-stocked supply chain will set you apart from other food trucks. So when people come to you and they're looking for your signature item and you're able to sell it when other trucks can't, that's a big plus. You need to figure out, how am I going to get my one product, the one that people come to me for the most, in stock and keep it in stock. Guests are going to be even more fickle and jump the loyalty ship in favor of trucks that are not constantly saying, I'm sold out. Makes you feel good because you're sold out, but it makes them feel bad because they're missing out on something they wanted. You got to understand that. Saying, I'm sold out is also saying, I don't know how to order food. I don't know how to inventory well. You wouldn't put that on your social media, so why are you putting, I'm sold out? If you did sell out quicker than you expected, to say, thank you guys so much, we'll be back tomorrow. That's something I cannot stress enough. That's a negative post on your social media. Stop doing it. So I've given you a few things that are happening with the supply chain and the logistics behind what's going on in our industry as far as us getting food. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of steps that are going to help you to protect your business without having to be so worried about shopping. We'll make a few tweaks to your menu, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. If you guys are enjoying the podcast, please consider hitting the support button or following the links in the description and offer a show of support. Every little bit does help keep us going. If you love being around like-minded, positive, supportive people, check out our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. There you'll find a ton of information and inspiration from all the awesome membership. Thank you guys so much for listening. I certainly hope you're finding all the information useful in your food truck business. You guys have a great day. Come back tomorrow and we will finish this subject up.